Multiple winter systems are moving through the United States this week, bringing repeated rounds of snowfall and two separate Arctic air masses. The pattern is active, the cold is real, and some areas that rarely see snow could be dealing with accumulation. This is not a one-and-done setup. We are looking at an extended period of winter weather that will impact nearly every region of the country in some form. Let me walk you through what's happening, who is affected, and what you need to know. We will cover the meteorological setup, break down the timeline day by day, examine what the different forecast models are showing, discuss the southern snow potential in detail, look at the extreme cold and where it will be most intense, and then get into specific practical guidance for different regions. Right now, conditions across the country are setting up for a significant pattern change. And the contrast could not be more dramatic from one region to another. Across the Gulf Coast from Texas through Louisiana and into Mississippi, conditions have been warm and humid, temperatures running 10 to 15 degrees above normal. Mississippi saw severe weather and tornado warnings earlier today. That warm, unstable air mass has been sitting over the region for days. In South Carolina, mornings have been cold. That cold intensifies as the week progresses. Central Arkansas has been enjoying excellent sleeping weather. Temperatures in the upper 20s at night, sunny and breezy during the day. Light jacket conditions. Many of you have been loving this stretch of pleasant winter weather. Compare that to what is happening in the high plains. Eastern Colorado saw temperatures in the teens this morning. The mountains are not even fully covered with snow yet, which tells you how the pattern has been running. That Arctic air sitting over the Rockies is about to move east. Ohio is already cold. Wisconsin transitioned from beautiful conditions to snow. That is how quickly these systems move through. Now, the meteorological setup. The jet stream is amplifying into a deep trough over the central United States. High pressure is building along the west coast. That combination is going to funnel Arctic air straight out of Canada and push it deep into the southern states. The National Weather Service is tracking this carefully. We have good model agreement on the overall pattern, though some details remain uncertain, particularly for the southern snow potential. Look at the jet stream configuration. Right now, we have a minor dip centered across the Midwest and Northeast. Nothing extraordinary. That dip is transporting some colder air across the Great Lakes currently, keeping things cooler for the next couple of days. But by Tuesday and Wednesday, this pattern amplifies dramatically. The dip in the jet stream intensifies and expands across the Great Plains all the way through the Gulf Coast. By late Wednesday, Arctic air spills out of Canada, flowing back down into Texas, the central Gulf Coast, and even into Florida. That is unusual, not unprecedented, but unusual for mid-January. The big story develops around Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. A large trough in the jet stream centers over the mid-Mississippi Valley. A low-pressure system tries to form within that trough. If it organizes quickly enough, we could see an elongated area of light to moderate snow stretching from the mid-Mississippi River Valley all the way through the northeast. That could lead to accumulation as far south as Georgia, Mississippi, possibly Alabama. However, what will probably happen is that this storm remains very broad on Thursday. That typically results in widespread light snow rather than concentrated heavy bands. Light snow could reach as far south as Alabama or Georgia, but it would not be a widespread significant event. Thursday and Friday, the storm system moves up the east coast. Snow falls from Tennessee back into the northeast. The jet stream continues to dip sharply across the Rockies and into the southern plains as we move into next weekend. That allows another intense shot of cold air to move across the Great Plains, Midwest, and back down toward the Gulf Coast. If you do not feel much cold air by Thursday and Friday, you will definitely feel it around Sunday and Monday of next week. Then, as we move deeper into next week, uncertainty increases, but the weather pattern should remain active. We will probably see more significant winter storms impacting the United States around the last couple of weeks of January. The long-range pattern favors continued cold and active weather, starting with today, Monday. This is the quietest day of the week. The only area dealing with any active weather is upstate New York and northern New England, where some light snow is falling. Nothing significant, a few inches at most in the higher elevations. Tonight into Tuesday morning, an Alberta clipper arrives across the upper Midwest. Michigan and Wisconsin will see a quick burst of snow. This is standard winter weather for that region. We are talking about 2 to 4 inches, possibly 5 in some lake-enhanced areas. The clipper moves through quickly. By Tuesday afternoon, it is already pushing into the Great Lakes. Tuesday into early Wednesday represents the warmest window of this entire pattern. Temperatures above average across much of the northern United States. This is the calm before the storm. Enjoy it while it lasts because the pattern flips dramatically. Wednesday is when things get interesting. A stronger system develops across the Midwest. A sharp, cold front pushes south into the Tennessee Valley. Wednesday morning, rain passes through Kentucky, Arkansas, and Ohio. Some areas might see thunderstorms if there is enough instability ahead of the front. By late Wednesday into Thursday, if sufficient moisture comes up from the Gulf of Mexico, we could see a coastal low trying to organize near Maryland, possibly extending into New England. That would bring light to moderate snow across the Ohio Valley and Northeast. The timing is tricky. If the coastal low develops too quickly, the Northeast could see heavier snowfall. If it remains weak and broad, snowfall stays light and scattered. The Appalachian Mountains could see snow as far south as the Atlanta, Georgia area. Elevations above 2,000 feet have the best chance. Lower elevations might see a mix of rain and snow or just cold rain. On top of that, northwestern Indiana may experience a significant lake effect snow event Wednesday. Northerly winds create a long fetch across Lake Michigan. That sets up intense snow bands west of Fort Wayne, near Michigan City. We could be looking at 6 to 12 inches in the hardest hit areas, possibly more if the winds align perfectly. Lake effect is notoriously difficult to pinpoint exactly where the heaviest bands will set up, but northwestern Indiana is in the target zone. Thursday, snow continues across the Northeast. Interior New England could see moderate accumulations. Coastal areas depend entirely on the track of that low-pressure system. If it stays offshore, coastal areas see less. If it hugs the coast, snowfall increases. There is a possibility of scattered snow flurries from eastern Arkansas into northern Georgia on Thursday, but accumulating snowfall in those areas remains unlikely with this setup. The system stays broad and disorganized. We might see a dusting, maybe an inch in isolated spots, but nothing widespread. Late Thursday into Friday, snow persists across the Northeast. Additional snow moves out of Canada on Friday, bringing light snowfall to the Midwest and Ohio Valley through Saturday. This is not a major system, but it adds to the cumulative totals. Another 2 to 4 inches across the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley. The GFS model shows light snow showers reaching as far south as Tennessee, possibly northern Mississippi and Alabama, late Friday into Saturday. Small-scale snow events like this are difficult to predict 4 to 5 days out. The GFS has been consistent with this signal for the past few runs, which adds some confidence. But we need to see if that trend continues. Saturday into Sunday, snow expands across the Ohio Valley and East Coast. Many areas from the Ohio Valley through the Northeast should see decent snowfall during this period. This coincides with the arrival of the second, more intense Arctic blast. The combination of fresh, cold air and available moisture could produce some moderate snow bands, particularly in the Ohio Valley and interior Northeast. We could see another 3 to 6 inches in these areas, adding to what has already fallen earlier in the week. Now let me show you what the European model is indicating because there are some differences worth discussing. The European model agrees on the overall pattern. Thursday into Friday, it shows snow mainly in the Northeast. It also shows the possibility of lingering snow showers Friday and Saturday as far south as Tennessee, but it does not indicate anything significant in terms of accumulation. Where the European model gets interesting is Sunday. Once the second Arctic blast arrives, it shows enough moisture coming out of the Gulf to potentially trigger snow in the deep southeast. We are talking about areas like southern Alabama, possibly even the Mobile area. This is 6 days out. This is a huge question mark. Predicting snow in the southeast 6 days in advance is extremely difficult. We definitely cannot confirm this will happen, but it is worth watching. If both models continue showing this trend over the next couple of days, confidence increases. If they back off, then it was just a model fantasy. Either way, we will keep you posted. The NAM model, which is a short-range model, is not useful yet for the weekend time frame. But as we get closer to these events, the NAM will provide higher resolution data for the northern snow events Wednesday through Friday. For reference, the probability of seeing at least 1 inch of snowfall between now and January 20th is very high if you are anywhere in the Midwest, Ohio Valley, or Northeast. 80 to 100% in many areas. The Mid-Atlantic is more questionable. We discussed the possibility of a snow event in the mid-Atlantic in previous forecasts. Right now, it looks like a large, broad area of low pressure on Thursday, which would lower the snow chances for many areas. But snow is still possible, just not significant accumulation. Back down in the southeast, areas like Georgia and Alabama are currently looking at about a 10 to 20% chance over the next 7 days of seeing at least 1 inch. If you are in Georgia or Alabama, that is a low-end possibility, but at least it is a chance. And for areas that rarely see snow, even a low probability is worth monitoring. For snowfall totals over the next 7 days, we are looking at multiple systems. This is not a single event. We have the Alberta Clipper on Tuesday, the main system Wednesday through Friday, additional snow from Canada on Friday, and then another system Saturday into Sunday. All of these add up. Most of the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast will see accumulation. Some areas will see significant totals, particularly the Appalachian Mountains, Western Michigan, and Northern Indiana. Let me break this down by region. The Appalachian Mountains, especially from West Virginia through Western North Carolina and into Eastern Tennessee, could see 8 to 14 inches over the course of the week. These areas benefit from upslope flow and multiple systems tracking through. The higher elevations always squeeze out more precipitation. Western Michigan and northern Indiana are looking at substantial lake effect snow. Northwestern Indiana, especially the area around Michigan City west to Valparaiso, could see 10 to 18 inches. Lake effect is difficult to forecast precisely because small shifts in wind direction can dramatically change where the heaviest bands set up. But the overall pattern favors significant lake effect accumulation in this region. Across the Ohio Valley, we are looking at widespread 5 to 9 inches. Some locations could see more if they get caught under heavier bands. Cincinnati, Columbus, Indianapolis, all looking at solid snowfall totals by the end of the week. The Northeast is more complicated. Interior New England, particularly the Berkshires, Green Mountains, and White Mountains, could see 8 to 12 inches. Coastal New England depends on storm tracks. If the Thursday system develops strong enough and stays close to the coast, Boston could see 4 to 7 inches. If it stays offshore, maybe 2 to 4. The mid-Atlantic is the biggest question mark. If the system on Thursday comes together quickly, areas like Baltimore, Washington, and Philadelphia could see 3 to 6 inches. If it remains broad and weak, we are looking at 1 to 3 inches at most. Right now, the latter scenario seems more likely. Across the broader Midwest, from Iowa through Illinois and into Michigan, widespread 2 to 7 inches is likely. Chicago could see 4 to 6 inches combined from multiple systems. The Great Lakes region always adds complexity. Lake effect snow can produce localized heavy amounts. Aside from northwestern Indiana, watch western Michigan along Lake Michigan, the thumb area of Michigan along Lake Huron, and the typical snowbelt areas south and east of Lake Erie. Buffalo and Watertown in New York could see additional lake effect on top of the system's snow. These numbers come from the National Weather Service blend of models, which accounts for multiple scenarios. These totals can shift higher or lower as systems develop. The blend tends to be conservative, so if a system overperforms, actual totals could exceed these forecasts. Check back daily as these events approach. Now let me address the cold air in detail. This is not a single event. We are dealing with 2 separate Arctic blasts. Understanding the timeline is important for preparation. Currently, temperatures are above average across the northern United States. Many areas in the upper Midwest are seeing temperatures in the 30s and 40s. Below average temperatures exist from Texas through the East Coast, but nothing extreme. That changes dramatically starting Wednesday. Wednesday, Arctic air begins building behind the low-pressure system forming across the Midwest. This is the leading edge of the first Arctic blast. Late Wednesday and Thursday, this air mass intensifies as it pushes into the southeast. Very cold air arrives Thursday across the entire eastern half of the country. When that cold air meets moisture coming out of the Gulf on Wednesday night into Thursday, we get the potential for rare snow in the Tennessee Valley. That is why the timing matters. If the moisture arrives before the cold air, we get rain. If the cold air arrives first, we get nothing. The sweet spot is when they arrive together. Thursday morning represents the coldest morning of the first Arctic blast. Wind chills along the Gulf Coast drop to 20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. If you are in southern Mississippi, Alabama, or the Florida Panhandle, expect wind chills in the mid-20s. That is cold for that region. The Ohio Valley feels like single digits Thursday morning. Pittsburgh, Columbus, Cincinnati, all looking at wind chills between 0 and 10 degrees. Actual air temperatures will be in the teens. The Great Lakes region sees wind chills below 0 in many areas Thursday morning. Chicago could feel like -5 to -10. Milwaukee and Detroit similar. The Northeast will be cold but not as extreme Thursday. Wind chills in the teens for most areas. The cold air takes longer to filter into New England because of the ocean influence. Friday and Saturday bring a brief moderation. Temperatures rise slightly. It is still cold, but not as intense as Thursday. This is the break between the two Arctic blasts. Then the second Arctic blast arrives. This one is more intense and more widespread, especially for the Great Plains, Midwest, and Ohio Valley. Saturday night into Sunday delivers the coldest air of the entire sequence. By Sunday morning, most of the Ohio Valley, Midwest, and Northeast will experience sub-zero wind chills. We are talking about widespread wind chills of -10 to -20 degrees Fahrenheit across Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, northern Illinois, northern Indiana, and northern Ohio. Some areas in the upper Midwest could see wind chills as low as -30 degrees. Even back down toward Florida, Sunday morning brings temperatures near freezing. The Space Coast of Florida could see temperatures in the upper 30s. Central Florida, including the Orlando area, could see actual air temperatures in the low 30s. That is cold for Florida. Freezing temperatures are possible in northern Florida. We are not just talking about wind chill. Actual air temperatures will be in the single digits across much of the Midwest and Ohio Valley Sunday morning. Northern areas could see temperatures below 0. Chicago could see actual air temperatures around 5 degrees Sunday morning. Minneapolis could drop below -10 degrees. Looking beyond this week, the pattern remains active. By early next week, Monday and Tuesday, temperatures moderate slightly but stay below average. More Arctic air will build over Canada. At some point, that Arctic air moves back into the United States. The long-range models suggest another significant Arctic outbreak is possible during the last week of January. We could be looking at an extended period of below-average temperatures through the end of the month. Very cold conditions are coming. Prepare for intense cold over the next 7 to 10 days, with the coldest periods Thursday morning and Sunday morning. For those in Florida, this represents the coldest weather you will likely see this winter. Most Floridians do not own heavy winter coats. That is understandable. Multiple thin layers work better than trying to find a parka. Make sure outdoor plants are protected. Bring pets inside. If you have elderly neighbors, check on them. Central Arkansas has been enjoying excellent sleeping weather recently. Temperatures in the upper 20s at night, sunny and breezy during the day. Light jacket weather, that continues for a bit, but the colder air arrives by the weekend. Enjoy this pleasant stretch while you can. By Sunday morning, you will be dealing with temperatures in the teens and wind chills near 0. South Carolina has been dealing with cold mornings. That intensifies as the week progresses. Eastern South Carolina has been seeing rain. That rain could mix with or change to snow briefly if the Thursday system comes together, but accumulation is unlikely at lower elevations. Ohio is already cold. It gets colder. If you drive a truck or work outdoors, dress in layers. Windproof outer layer, insulating middle layers, moisture-wicking base layer. Frostbite becomes a real concern Sunday morning when wind chills drop well below 0. For those in Tennessee and northern Georgia, if snow does materialize midweek, do not wait to clear it. Snow followed by extreme cold creates ice. Clear driveways and walkways before temperatures plummet Thursday night. Even a thin layer of snow can become a serious hazard when it refreezes. Northern Georgia typically sees one good snow event around mid-January. This could be it, though confidence remains low for significant accumulation below 2,000 feet elevation. Wisconsin saw a transition from beautiful weather to snow. That is how quickly these systems move. Michigan is having a robust winter. Multiple snow events are coming your way. Wisconsin saw some flurries over the weekend. By Tuesday, you are dealing with the Alberta Clipper, then lake effect Wednesday, then more snow from Canada Friday and Saturday, and then another system Sunday. If you have been holding off on stocking up on supplies, now is the time. Maryland, I know many of you have been waiting for snow. 2 years without a major snowstorm in some areas. This pattern has potential, but I am not promising anything until we see how these systems develop. The Thursday system looks broad and disorganized, which typically means lower snow totals for the mid-Atlantic. The weekend system has better potential, especially if the coastal low develops close to the coast. We will see. Keep checking the forecast. The Maryland snow drought may continue, or it may end this week. Too early to say definitively. Central Illinois has avoided major snow so far this season. You have had quiet conditions while areas around you got hammered. That luck may be running out. Illinois sits right in the zone for multiple systems this week. You could see 6 to 10 inches combined from all the events. Syracuse, New York has received 70 inches of snow this season, but can still see grass in yards. For Syracuse, that is unacceptable. More is on the way. You will be dealing with additional lake effect off Lake Ontario plus system snow. By the end of next week, you should be back to normal snowpack levels. For the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, extreme winter weather is your specialty. You are being included in this forecast because you will definitely see significant snow and cold. Northwestern winds off Lake Superior will create intense lake effect bands. You could see another 12 to 20 inches this week on top of what you already have. Standard January for the UP. If you are traveling more than 1,000 miles north over the next 2 days, understand conditions change rapidly. What starts as rain can become snow within hours. Check road conditions before departing. Have a full tank of gas. Do not assume roads will be clear just because the forecast shows light snow. In these rapid transition setups, road crews cannot keep up. Now, practical safety guidance that applies to everyone dealing with this cold and snow. Anyone working outdoors this week, take the cold seriously. Frostbite can occur in minutes once wind chills drop below zero. Sunday morning with wind chills of -10 to -30 across the upper Midwest and Great Lakes, exposed skin can develop frostbite in 10 to 15 minutes. Cover all exposed skin. That means face masks or balaclavas, not just hats and scarves. Wear insulated, waterproof gloves. Layered clothing is essential. Base layer that wicks moisture away from skin. Middle insulating layer like fleece or down. Outer windproof and waterproof shell. Take warm-up breaks if working outside. Every 30 minutes, get inside or into a heated vehicle. If you start shivering uncontrollably, that is your body telling you it is losing the battle to stay warm. Get inside immediately. Confusion, slurred speech, and drowsiness are signs of hypothermia. These are medical emergencies. For drivers, keep an emergency kit in your vehicle. This is not optional during winter weather. Blanket, flashlight with extra batteries, water, non-perishable food, first aid kit, ice scraper, small shovel, jumper cables, cell phone charger. If you get stuck, stay with your vehicle. Do not try to walk for help unless you can see a building nearby. More people die trying to walk in blizzards than die waiting in their vehicles. Run the engine periodically for heat, maybe 10 minutes every hour. But make absolutely certain the exhaust pipe is not blocked by snow. Carbon monoxide poisoning kills quickly in enclosed spaces. Cat litter or sand in your trunk adds weight for traction and can be used under tires if you get stuck. Costs $3, works effectively. Some people prefer keeping a bag of rock salt, which also provides weight and traction. Either works. Do not shovel snow just once if you are in the upper Midwest. You will need to do it multiple times as snow continues falling. Or wait until Friday evening when the initial snowfall ends. Shoveling multiple times with lighter snow is easier on your back and heart than trying to move heavy, deep snow all at once. If you have any heart conditions, consider hiring someone to shovel. Heart attacks during snow shoveling are common, especially among men over 55. Cold air constricts blood vessels. Heavy exertion raises heart rate and blood pressure, and that combination can trigger cardiac events. For those with back pain, be extra careful. Lift with your legs, not your back. Push snow rather than lifting when possible. Take frequent breaks. People across the Gulf Coast have been dealing with temperature whiplash. 70 degrees one day, 40 the next, back to 70. Sinus issues and migraines result from these rapid changes. That pattern ends Wednesday when sustained cold moves in. At least it will be consistent. If you have been dealing with sinus problems or headaches from the temperature swings, you may find relief once the pattern stabilizes, even though it will be colder. Check on elderly family members and neighbors. They are more vulnerable to cold. Make sure they have adequate heating. Make sure they do not need to go outside during the worst conditions. Offer to pick up groceries or medications for them. Hypothermia can develop even indoors if heating is inadequate. Room temperature should be at least 68 degrees Fahrenheit for elderly individuals. This situation deserves attention, but it is not unprecedented. Winter means snow. Multiple systems in a week happens regularly in the northern United States. What makes this notable is how far south the cold air will penetrate and the potential for snow in areas that rarely see it. Many of you remember severe winter weather from past decades. The blizzard of '78 brought 3 feet of snow and temperatures 20 below zero to parts of the Midwest and East Coast. The superstorm of '93 dropped snow from Alabama to Maine. This is not that level of event, but it is significant for mid-January, particularly the dual Arctic blasts and the southern extent of the cold air. For perspective, temperatures in the teens and 20s are normal January weather for the northern tier of states. What is unusual is seeing those temperatures as far south as northern Florida and the central Gulf Coast. But it happens. January of 1985 saw freezing temperatures reach deep into Florida, causing massive agricultural losses. This event will not be that extreme, but it follows a similar pattern. The key difference between this and past major winter events is duration. We are not looking at a single intense storm. We are looking at multiple systems over a week, with cumulative snowfall totals building up. And we are looking at 2 separate Arctic blasts rather than one prolonged cold snap. Pipes are another concern during extreme cold. If you have pipes in unheated areas like basements, crawl spaces, or exterior walls, let faucets drip slightly. Moving water is less likely to freeze. Open cabinet doors under sinks to allow warm air to circulate around pipes. If pipes do freeze, do not use open flames to thaw them. Use a hair dryer or space heater and start thawing at the faucet end, working back toward the frozen section. For livestock and outdoor animals, make sure they have adequate shelter and unfrozen water. Water troughs can freeze solid in these temperatures. Check them multiple times per day. Stay updated through the week. Conditions will change as these systems develop. The National Weather Service provides the most localized and up-to-date information for your specific area. Check their website or local forecast office for detailed information. Local National Weather Service forecasts include county-by-county details that a national overview cannot provide. Pay attention to winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories. A winter storm warning means significant snowfall or ice is expected. Conditions will be hazardous. A winter weather advisory means snow or ice will cause travel difficulties, but not as severe as a warning. Wind chill warnings and advisories are also issued when dangerously cold conditions occur. A wind chill warning means widespread wind chills of -25 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. A wind chill advisory means wind chills of -15 to -24 degrees. The pattern remains active beyond this week. Late January could bring more significant winter storms. Long-range models show continued below-average temperatures and an active storm track. This could be a busy rest of the month. We will continue monitoring as this unfolds. Check back for updates as these systems develop. Things can change, especially with the southern snow potential and exact storm tracks. What looks like a miss today could shift into a hit tomorrow or vice versa. That is why daily updates are important during active patterns. For those hoping for snow, particularly in the mid-Atlantic and southeast, manage expectations. The setup favors the Ohio Valley and Northeast much more strongly than areas farther south. But there is a chance. Low probability does not mean zero probability. For those dreading more winter weather, particularly in areas that have already seen significant snow, this is January. This is what January does in the northern United States. Spring is still 10 weeks away. We will get through this. Stay safe, stay warm,